This is Jarrod Horak. In this video, I will analyze the Bluegrass Stakes at Keeneland on Tuesday, April 8th. This is a Kentucky Derby 2025 points race, and through 35 races on my Road to the Derby video series, my top choices have 9 wins, 7 runner-up finishes, and 3 show finishes. 2 of my top choices have scratched, so I'm 9 for 33 on the Road to the Derby. The last 5 Derby points races, my top choices have 3 wins and 2 runner-up finishes. My 3 wins were in the Arkansas Derby, Wood Memorial, and Santa Anita Derby, and my 2 runner-up finishes in the Florida Derby and the UAE Derby. And I will be covering the final Derby points race in the coming days on my channel, and that race is the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland on Saturday, April 12th. So stay tuned for that video. And Santa Anita is on a live racing break until April 18th, so I'm going to be offering some full cards at Keeneland. The cards I will be offering: Ashland Stakes Day on Monday, April 7th, and Bluegrass Stakes Day on Tuesday, April 8th. And I'm also covering full cards for Saturday and Sunday, April 12th and 13th at Keeneland, including Lexington Stakes Day on April 12th. So go to the runawayhorse.com on my shop page to pre-purchase those cards now, and I will email them out when analysis is complete, and I send out my full cards 1 to 2 days before race day. And I recently debuted a new product at the Runaway Horse, my Kentucky Derby Prep Race Package. If you get that package, you will receive my analysis and wagering strategies for all of the remaining Kentucky Derby points races, my weekly Derby reports, and my Kentucky Derby Day full card at Churchill on the first Saturday in May. And I also will be offering a Kentucky Oaks Day full card the day before the Derby, and then also my annual Triple Crown Series full cards that I offer each year. So go to the runawayhorse.com on my shop page to see my upcoming full card schedule and to purchase my products if you're interested in them. And the early weather forecast for April 8th at Keeneland calls for sunny skies with a high temperature of 45. Now we're going to meet the field for the Bluegrass. Then I'll give out my contenders from last to first. Tuesday, April 8th, Keeneland Race 10, Grade 1, $1.25 million Bluegrass for 3-year-olds, a mile and an eighth on the main track. Scheduled post time, 5:52 p.m. Eastern Time. River Thames is number 1 in here at 5 to 2. And Todd Pletcher's the trainer. Irad Ortiz Jr. is going to ride. He was second, beating the neck in the Fountain of Youth Stakes last time out. Number 2, Render Judgment, your Virginia Derby runner-up. This one for trainer Kenny McPeak. Sheldon Russell is going to ride, and at 20 to 1, he's going to be a big price in here. Number 3, Burnham Square for trainer Ian Wilkes with Brian Hernandez Jr. aboard. He's 9 to 2 morning line, and he won the Holy Bull Stakes in February. Number 4, Owen Almighty exits a front-running victory in the Tampa Bay Derby, and Jose Ortiz is going to ride for trainer Brian Lynch. Number 5, East Avenue for Brendan Walsh. He's adding blinkers in here. Luan Machado is his new rider, and he wired the field in the Breeders' Futurity last year at Keeneland. Number 6, Chancer McPatrick. He's 7 to 2 morning line. He won 2 Grade 1 races last year. He was second in the Tampa Bay Derby. Chad Brown is the trainer, and Flavian Pratt, his regular rider, stays aboard. Number 7, Admiral Dennis, a 20 to 1 long shot for trainer Brad Cox. And Luis Saez is going to ride this one, and he was 6th in a 13-horse field in the Rebel Stakes last time out. And now we'll go last to first in this Bluegrass Stakes. And the horse that I picked to finish 7th and last is the 7, Admiral Dennis. And as I said, he's 20 to 1 morning line, and he's one that I liked earlier this year, but he has not lived up to his potential in the stakes ranks. Now, he ran fine in both of his maiden special weight starts, but they were one-turn races, and he won a race at 1 mile around one turn in his second career start. And then he was in the stakes ranks. I made him my top choice in the Gun Runner Stakes at Fairgrounds in December, but he stumbled at the start, lost his best chance, and was beaten 16 lengths. But he did bounce back after that. He won an optional claiming race. It was a slow early, fast late event on January 20th, and he was the 1 to 2 favorite there, so he was expected to win that race. They put him back in a stakes race in the Grade 2 Rebel on February 23rd. He broke slow. He was 24 lengths back early. He ended up finishing 6th in a 13-horse field. He was beaten 7 lengths, so he made up 17 lengths from the first call to the last call of that race, but he was never really a threat. The pace, I think, in this race would really have to fall apart to give him a good chance. And I think there are other horses that are better closers, and they're faster as well. The horse that I picked to finish 6th, it's a 2, Render Judgment, and he's another 20 to 1 long shot in here. And he's faced Stakes Company in his last 4 starts, but he was beaten a total of 44 3/4 lengths in those races. He did end up finishing a distant third in the gun runner, and then he added blinkers, and he was second behind Runaway winner American Promise in the Virginia Derby last time out. So he's just not hasn't done enough in the stakes ranks to be considered a major contender. So I don't like his chances in this spot. The horse that I picked to finish fifth is the 4 Owen Almighty, and he does have a shot in this race. We'll just have to see how far he wants to go, and he might have to work out a different trip than he did last time. He's 3-1 morning line, and he's raced 6 times, and he's crossed the line first on 4 occasions, but he was disqualified and placed 5th in the Pasco Stakes. And then he was second in his other 2 starts. So he added blinkers, and he was second best in the Sam F. Davis in February. He was chasing the pace that day, and then he was able, from the inside post, to just get out there, control the pace, and easily win the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby last time. So that race, pace was slow. He was setting controlled fractions. He had everything his own way, and he also had that inside post. But before the Tampa Bay Derby, his trainer, Brian Lynch, said they were targeting the Pat Day Mile on the Kentucky Derby undercard. But then the owners, after he picked up those 50 Derby points, they decided after he won the Tampa Bay Derby and got those points that they were going to point to the Kentucky Derby. So he's going to be using the Bluegrass Stakes as a prep race for the Kentucky Derby. But for him, he's just not going to get that same soft upfront trip. At least it doesn't look that way on paper. And I'm not sure how far he wants to go, because he was a horse that they thought had distance limitations prior to the Tampa Bay Derby. But then when he got out there and controlled the pace, picked up those 50 Derby points, they've decided to push on and try to run him in route races. The horse that I picked to finish fourth, the 5 East Avenue. And I'm just not sure what we're going to get from him in this spot. He's 3-1 morning line. And he's one that seems to need the lead, because he made the lead and he easily wired the field in his first 2 career starts last year, including the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland at 1 mile and a 16th last fall. And then in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he had the inside post. I picked him as my top choice. He was the favorite that day. It looked like he might be able to get out there and control the pace like he did in the Breeders' Futurity, but he stumbled badly at the start, lost his best chance, never picked up his feet that day. But then last time, he came off a layoff. There was really no excuse. It was the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes on February 15th, and that day he was chasing the pace in second, and then he just came up empty. He gave it up, and he was beaten 22 lengths. So now his connections are just going to press on the road to the Derby. He's adding blinkers, and it looks like, just based on his 2-year-old form and then his last 2 starts, that he just has to get out there and make the lead. He could be one of those need to lead types. So with blinkers on, back at the track that he won his Grade 1 race last year, with Luan Machado, his new rider, I think that they just have to press on and get him to the front and just see how far he wants to go. The horse that I picked to finish third is the 1 River Thames, and he's 5-2 morning line, and he is an unraced 2-year-old, and he's making nice progress this year for trainer Todd Pletcher. He stalked the pace, and he won in his career debut at 6 furlongs by more than 4 lengths. That was on January 11th, and then he pressed the pace, and he scored by more than 6 lengths when he was the strong favorite in a 1-turn mile in his second career start. And from that race, the show finisher was the next out winner. River Thames stepped up. He ran in the Fountain of Youth Stakes, and in that race, he pressed the pace. He took the lead. It looked like he was going to win it, but then Sovereignty came from off the pace. He was my top choice that day, and he was able to get up by a neck and defeat River Thames. That was the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth at 1 mile and a 16th on March 1st at Gulfstream. And then the Fountain of Youth winner, Sovereignty, and the show finisher, Neo Equos, they both returned to finish 2nd and 3rd in the Grade 1 Florida Derby. The River Thames faced some decent horses last time out, and he's one that should be forwardly placed from the inside post under Irad Ortiz Jr. But again, I'm not sure how far he wants to go. I think that Gulfstream at 1 mile and a 16th, having that good trip just off the pace there, that was a good distance for him. Now we're going to see if he can stretch his speed out to 1 mile and an 1/8. The horse I picked to finish second is the 6 Chancer McPatrick, and he's 7-2 morning line, and he's one we're going to have to see how far he wants to run. That's a theme in this race. I mentioned already Owen Almighty had that soft trip at 1 mile and a 16th. His connections weren't sure how far he wanted to go prior to that race. And then we have East Avenue. He's one that he has to reproduce his 2-year-old form from that Breeders' Futurity. and he probably needs to lead. And then we talked about River Thames, based on the pedigree and how he runs. Maybe he doesn't want to go 1 1/8 and 1 1/4, but we're going to find out. Chancellor McPatrick had all of his success, as he's my second choice in here, around 1 turn last year. His first 3 starts, he went 3 for 3, rallying from well off the pace to win his first 3 career starts, including back-to-back Grade 1 wins in the Hopeful and the Champagne. And then he stretched out. They tried him around 2 turns in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but he was a non-threatening 6th in a 10-horse field. He had the outside post that day. For that race, though, the race flow was against him. Citizen Bull, Gaming, 1-2 all the way around. And then this one also came out of that race with an ankle chip and a quarter crack. And he had surgery on the off season, and then he worked 6 times prior to the Tampa Bay Derby, and that was on March 8th. And Chad Brown said prior to the Tampa Bay Derby, he was about 80% fit for that race, and he was just using that race as a prep for this race. And that day he added blinkers. He did show improved positional speed, but he didn't get any pace help because Owen Almighty was out there controlling slow fractions out on the front end from the inside post. But Chancellor McPatrick was able to stalk the pace and finish a clear second that day. So his winning rider, Flavien Prat, he's going to stick with him. This is his second start after a layoff. Wouldn't be surprised if he moved forward. And Chad Brown has successfully used the Bluegrass Stakes as a Kentucky Derby prep race for some of his highly regarded runners, Good Magic, Zandon, and Sierra Leone. All 3 of those horses, they won the Bluegrass Stakes, and then they hit the board in the Kentucky Derby. And my top choice in here is going to be the 3, Burnham Square. He's 9-2 morning line, and I trust him to get the distance more than the other horses. He just seems like a true route horse, and we'll have to see if he can get enough pace help in here to set up his off the pace rally in the stretch. So he's one that he rallied to hit the board in his first 2 career starts. And then when they added blinkers, he looked like a different horse when he cruised to a big maiden win. That was over a route of ground at Gulfstream in December. And then in the Holy Bull Stakes, my top choice was Tappan Street, and he looked home free, rallying from off the pace and taking the lead. But Burnham Square made the last run in that race, and he won that race by a length and 3/4. That was at Gulfstream at 1 1/16 on February 1st. And then his disappointing effort was in the Fountain of Youth. He was the favorite in that race, and he was the beaten favorite that day. That was on March 1st at 1 1/16 at Gulfstream. Just didn't run as well as he did in that Holy Bull. He found his best stride too late in that Fountain of Youth Stakes. He ended up finishing 4th. He missed 3rd by a neck, but he did gallop out with the winner, Sovereignty, that day. So I thought he was decent on the gallop out. That made it look like he probably wanted more ground, and he was just warming up at that 1 1/16 distance. So the good things about him is the Holy Bull runner-up, Tappan Street, that he defeated so nicely. He returned to beat the 1st and 3rd place finishers, Sovereignty and Neo Equos, in the Grade 1 Florida Derby. So all those horses ran well that Burnham Square has been running against in their next starts. So for this one, I think he's going to enjoy the added ground, the 1 1/8 distance. And it looks like he should get honest fractions to chase, just because you just know that East Avenue has to go. And then River Thames likes to be forwardly placed, and Owen Almighty as well. So there's enough horses in here, horses that can set the pace and can press that front runner to maybe set it up for a horse from a bit off the pace in here. So overall, when it came right down to it, it just came down to the 1 1/8 distance for this one, for me to pick him on top. Also, I like those quality company lines from the Holy Bull and Fountain of Youth, where I mentioned the top horses and the top finishers from those races, like Tappan Street, like Sovereignty, and Neo Equos. They all came back, and they performed well in their next starts. And he's also training like he's going to run back to his Holy Bull effort. And if he can run back to that effort, I think he can rally and win this race and get enough points to run in the Kentucky Derby. So for this Bluegrass, Burnham Square, number 3 is my top choice. Number 6, Chancellor McPatrick, my second choice. The 1, River Thames, my third choice. The 5, East Avenue, my fourth choice. And then I went with Owen Almighty as my fifth choice. Render Judgment and Admiral Dennis to bring up the rear. And if you want a free pick each day, go over to therunawayhorse.com and click on the Better Bets blog tab at the top of my homepage. You can get a free pick from around the country each day. And like, comment, and share these videos if you like them. Subscribe to my channel as well. It's free to subscribe. And I post these horse racing videos each day, especially during the Road to the Oaks and Derby. Very busy on my channel right now. I'm going to keep posting all of these videos with more Oaks and Derby news as we get closer to the first Saturday in May. And until next time, good luck at the races.